Hi everyone, we are back again with another episode of Mellow Musings. So this is Mellow Musings, the musings of Mellow, the Society for the Study of the Multi-Ethnic Literatures of the World. So here we are, and we try and have an online session every fortnight on a subject that will be of interest to most of us. Today, we are going to speak of the short form of poetry, Japanese poetry in particular, and our speaker is here before you. This is Neena Singh. We have people in the background. You may switch on your video for a while so that Neena can see you all. And then when we begin her talk, then perhaps you can go off the screen as you wish. Okay, so are you going to come onto the screen? Very nice. We have Sunena here, we have Roshan, Debarati. So some people are shy, some are coming in. And this lovely lady is Surbi Chandan. She's in Shimla. Sunena is in Chandigarh. So we are from different places. Okay. So this is Neena Singh. Neena Singh is a banker turned a poet. So she was counting all her money for a very long time. And a time came when she said, enough of counting money. Let me now count the syllables in a poem. Let me focus on the rhymes and rhythms and the words and so on. We have another youngster out here, Hemraj Bansal. He is also from Dharamshala. Okay, so this is Neena Singh, a banker turned poet, and she, even though she's been, she's been dabbling in numbers and banking matters for so long, she was shortlisted for a Touchstone Award for individual poems in 2021. Wow. Her haiku and other short forms of poetry are regularly featured in international journals, and they won honorable mention in popular contests and also been selected by Society for Classical Poets among 23 best haiku of 2023. And there was a collaborative venture called Weavings, which won a second prize in 2021. And her poem Thirst won the third place in 2023. She's published 3 books of poetry, Whispers of the Soul, The Journey Within, One Breath Poetry, and the upcoming one is A Peacock's Cry, Seasons of Haiku. Now, Neena is not just a poet, she's also a social worker and she runs an NGO for underprivileged children in Chandigarh. Neena, we are so glad to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting our invitation to speak to our scholars out here. We have been dabbling in literature as such, but as academicians. And it's very nice to have another perspective on literature from, from a from somebody like you who's been practicing poetry. Would you like to say something, Neena, before you begin your talk?
Thank you, Professor Manju Jedkar, for President of MELOW, for inviting me today to speak on short forms of Japanese poetry to the learned members of your group, MELOW. And this, when I heard of it and when I read about it, it's very interesting that you are researching and studying the multi-ethnic literatures of the world. And I am grateful to you for inviting me to be part of this and to share my love of this Japanese short form of poetry. As I was talking earlier, that this haiku poetry, earlier I used to write normal free verse poetry and rhyming poetry during my school days, college days, and even later. And the first book which I published in 2016 was a book of poems. And this was the book, Whispers of the Soul, The Journey Within. And this was in 2016, which had photographs and which had poems. And these are normal poems, free verse poems. And in this book, I did write 3-line poems, thinking that they were haiku. but they were micro poems, and the aesthetics of haiku were not known to me that time. I had not studied haiku per se. So through this book, I came into contact with a celebrated haiku poet, Dr. Anjali Deodhar, and she became my mentor and guided me. She became a friend and a mentor and guided me how to write haiku, what are the rules, what are the aesthetics of haiku, what is the structure. And because see, when haiku as a Japanese art form had 17 syllables, and these syllables were sound syllables, which are called in Japanese. Now, in English language, our syllables are different. They're more complex. And also because our syllables have longer tones. So if we start writing in 17 syllables, the haiku would become very much padded, and it would lose that essence of haiku, which is capturing a moment. That is what we do in haiku. We capture a moment. Uh, we do not philosophize. We do not tell. We just show. And that moment is captured in earlier in 3 lines, like it was started in Japan in 3 lines. And they used to write it in 5, 7, 5 syllables. First line, 5 syllables, then 7, and then 5. But then these are onji, not our syllables. So the English language haiku are, if we correspond the sound syllables with English language haiku, then our syllables are reduced to maybe 11, 12, that way. So now when we read the English language haiku, which is happening for the last 100 years, the structure is short, long, short. And even that is optional. You can have whatever, but the haiku has to be a short poem. It is the shortest poem. And you see, it's called one breath poetry because it's as short as an in-breath and an out-breath. If I read out a poem to you, the most famous poem of the old master Basho, who started this, Matsuo Basho, is Old Pond. That is the first line. Old pond, a frog jumps in, that is the second line, to the sound of water, that is the third line. Old pond, a frog jumps in to the sound of water. And you must understand that this was written in Japanese. So it's translated by one of the English poets like Jane Rayshort. She's translated this in English. So haiku poems are very brief, very succinct, very imagistic. We use our senses. So we can show the PowerPoint. I think that will be even more, it will highlight all the points in a very methodical manner. If you can show the PowerPoint. So if we were to introduce haiku, it captures a moment. Now these are nature or season poems. So we go to the first slide. If I introduce you to haiku, it is a traditional form of Japanese poetry which originated in the 17th century. And the collaborative poems which were written 1300 years, this was renga actually. And in renga, this sometimes used to be 100 verses written by lots of collaborative poets. Now the first verse of that was called hokku. That was the opening verse. Later on, a poet by the name of Shiki changed this hokku into haiku. And then the poems which were written, they became haiku. Now, this is a poem with imagistic language. We use our senses to convey the essence of an experience of nature or the season, basically season, because these are season poems, and that we link it to the human condition. It's not just saying that this is the season and this is what is happening there. No, there have to be two images. One is of the season and one is of the human condition. So it acts as a spark plug. There's a wow moment when a good haiku is read. See, it's very, people say it's so easy to write just 3 lines. What is there? But it looks easy, but there are lots of rules. And even for season words, now if we say the seasons are spring, summer, autumn, and winter. These are the 4 seasons. And Japanese also have another season called New Year, because that is their celebratory time. So what they have done, there is an encyclopedia of season words, which is called Saijiki. Now, in the Saijiki, they have listed these season words, and they have divided them into seasons, the sky and elements, then landscapes, plants, animals, human affairs. So there's a whole list of such words which have to be used when you write haiku. So one has to study those season words, which is all available on the internet. So one studies them season wise and then writes the haiku. So we go to the next slide. So it captures a moment in nature or our daily life with simplicity, simple language. We use simple language. There's no flowery language. Simplicity, brevity, and depth, encouraging mindfulness of the present moment. They are untitled poems. They are unrhymed, non-rhyming, and they're always written in lowercase. The capitals are only used if we are using a place name or a proper noun. And it is always expressed as singular, never haikus. So if it's one haiku, it's haiku. If it's 100 haiku, again, it's haiku. And similarly for tanka and haibun, which we'll come to later. These are all different forms of Japanese short forms of poetry. So we don't use adjectives. We don't say it's a beautiful moon. No, we just say it's a moon. And moon is, again, it's an autumn key. And the season word in Japanese haiku poetry is a kigo word. It's called a kigo word, Kigo, kigo word. So next slide, please. So what are the characteristics of haiku? So what is the structure of haiku? The structure of haiku in the English language haiku, like we say that it's written in 3 lines. And these 3 lines, they are divided into phrase and fragment. So line 1 can be the fragment and line 2 and 3 can be the phrase. It can also be that line 3 is the phrase and line 1 and 2 is line 1 and 2 is fragment. Line 1 and 2 is phrase and line 3 is fragment. So you can reverse it, but there have to be 2 images, right? Then there's a seasonal reference. So the words, like I said, that the Japanese encyclopedia, the Saijiki, those words are given in this Saijiki. So we have to give that seasonal reference, and that is called a kigo. A kigo word is included in a haiku. Then there is a cutting word. Now in Japanese, there are lots of cutting words, which are called kireji. Now in English language, we don't have cutting words. So what do we use if we have to give a pause? If we have to give a pause between the 2 images, what do we do? Can you guess what we do between the 2 images if we have to give a pause? And suppose the pause is understood, that's fine. But if it's not understood, then we use punctuation marks. It can be ellipsis, it can be a dash, it can be an N dash or an M dash. Depending upon the pause, we give the punctuation marks. We don't have kireji cutting words, right? That is the pause. And
what is ELH and SLS?
ELH is the English language haiku.
Okay.
English language haiku, right?
And SLS?
Where is SLS?
Here, EL, the first gray one, the first gray box.
Oh, actually, it's not visible here because we are coming
3 lines with a 575 syllable structure. ELH written as SLS lines, comprising phrase and fragment.
Short. That's what I said. Short, long, short.
Oh, short, long, short.
Short, long, short. And even that is optional. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to have a short, long. Sometimes poets write the first line as a little longer line and maybe the second line as short. That is also done. Nowadays in English language haiku, a lot of experimentation is happening. And there is 1 line haiku. It's called a monoku. So the people write 2 line haiku also, right? A duo stitch. So lots of experimentation is happening because it's developing. It's evolving more and more with time. Cutting. So I told you these 4 things. So if we were to just summarize these, the sensory focus is very important. We use the 5 senses, the sense of sight, hearing, smell, touch, all these senses are very keenly used in haiku, in writing haiku. So that is why it becomes an imagistic image which stirs something. So if you look at the third slide, yeah. What are the essence of haiku? We show, we don't tell. Then there's a connection to nature. There's an emotional depth, but we don't show the emotion. We write about what causes the emotion. We don't write about the emotion. We say we write what causes the emotion. A very beautiful haiku by Michael Dylan Welsh, who's a very famous poet. He says, near the pet store, the pull of her hand near the pet store. Now, there is something left unsaid. That is what haiku is. There's an empty space. This is called ma, where the reader steps in. You can interpret the haiku in whichever way you want. So there is an empty space or ma for the reader to step in. Then the emphasis is on the sensory imagery. And then there's the present moment awareness or the mindfulness. Now, the important part, or what makes a good haiku, is the juxtaposition of two images, nature and human experience. I will explain it by reading out some haiku for you, and you will then appreciate these points all the more. I will read out some haiku for you. So if I read this haiku, which I will read out my published haiku, which have already been published in various international journals and also some of them have been awarded. Spring clouds, a white pebbled pathway to heaven. Spring clouds, a white pebbled pathway to heaven. Homecoming, the mid-flight pause of a dragonfly. Homecoming, the mid-flight pause of a dragonfly. Now, if you look at the first haiku, spring clouds, now there's a season word. Spring is the season word. Spring clouds are also season word. A white pebbled pathway. Seeing the white clouds, the poet feels that this is a white pebbled pathway leading to heaven. So there's a nature element, and then there's a season element. Spring clouds is the fragment. A white pebbled pathway to heaven is the phrase. So there is a phrase, there's a fragment, there's a season word, there's a juxtaposition of human and nature, and there is empty space for the reader to step in, and it's a present moment awareness. So all the points which we have talked about, you can see. Similarly, in homecoming, the mid-flight pause of a dragonfly. Now, homecoming, the poet maybe is coming home. There's a homecoming. The poet is coming back after travel. And what happens? There's a dragonfly which is flying. And then what happens to the dragonfly? There's a mid-flight pause. So the dragonfly also has paused its journey. And dragonfly would be a Kigo word. So that is how we use these Kigo words. So next slide, please. So what are the techniques for writing haiku? First is the observation. We have to be mindful of our daily life, mindful of nature, the changing seasons, the smallest things we see. And it could be ants, it could be snail, it could be the bee buzzing over a flower, or the leaves which are falling. Everything we see in nature, and that seasons, the change of seasons. So that observation, because most of the haiku, which at least I write, these are experiential haiku. I experience that moment and I write it. There are poets who write desk ku. Ku means poem, so verse. So so there are people who write desk ku, but most of my writing comes from my experience. So second is the juxtaposition, the contrast between the two images to create a wow moment. Third is the simplicity, to keeping the language clear, simple, and so that it's easily understood. And can you read the whole point on the 3? I can't read it from here.
Keep the language clear, simple, and direct so that it's
Yeah.
authentic and personal.
Personal,
This is
yes. So
number 3.
it speaks
Number
to,
4 is sensory details.
yes. So focus on what you see, hear, feel, taste, or smell. That is also very important. That is how these things are to be kept in mind. So we have to remove unnecessary words. We have to use shorter words with same meaning. We have to use adjectives and adverbs very sparingly. And articles like a and the, they have to be used. We don't have to skip them for the shortness of the poem or the brevity of the poem. If they are needed, then we have to use them. For concision, let's not avoid them. And we have to use strong verbs. So that is how we do it. Now, if you look at this haiku by Matsuo, the old masters of haiku, there were these 4 old masters. Matsuo Basho was the most famous haiku poet. I read this out to you. I think that screen has gone from here. I can't see you. It's okay.
But why is it that you can't see? Let me try again. Let me try again.
Yeah.
I've now stopped sharing and I'm sharing again. Where did it go?
It's just vanished, I think, somewhere.
No, I'm sharing again. Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see the screen, the PowerPoint. I can't see us. Yeah, we have
That. I don't know why that is. But
Never
I
mind,
think
it'll come later. It'll come later, I think. It's okay.
Okay.
So we go to the next one. Next slide, please.
Just one sec. Let me go to the current slide. This one?
Yeah. So these are the old masters of haiku. Matsuo Basho, 1644 to 1694. He was the most famous haiku poet. And this, I read out this one to you, the haiku. The old pond, a frog jumps into the sound of water. Then on a bare branch, a crow is perched. Autumn evening. This was translated by Vida. On a bare branch, a crow is perched. Autumn evening. So here, the juxtaposition is between the autumn evening, the bare branch, and a crow. Now, a crow is also black, and the branch is shown as bare, which means there are no leaves there, and it's an autumn evening. So it's all connected. If you see it, that there could be a moon in the background. There could be, this crow, which is dark in color. The autumn evening could be one of a poet's life also. So it is how you interpret the poem that is what makes it so beautiful. Next slide, please. Then we have Yosabuson. He was very well known for his visual and serene depictions of nature. It's like a photographic moment. Evening wind, water laps the heron's legs. This was translated by Robert Hess. Evening wind, water laps the heron's legs. You can actually see the scene, the way they write it. And you see, there are just 7 words in that poem. And you can feel the wind blowing. You can hear the lapping of the water against the heron's legs. So the heron's color. So there are so many things which are hidden in this verse. The cool of morning, separating from the bell, the voice of the bell, translated by Donald Keene. The cool of morning, separating from the bell, the voice of the bell. Next slide, please. Kobayashi Isa. He was a very compassionate poet, and he had a tough life and a tough childhood, but he gave a common, he wrote about the common people and creatures. He's written a lot about insects and like snails, ants, fireflies, mosquitoes. He's written very beautiful haiku. Do not tread on the grass where fireflies glowed last night. Translated by Asatoru Miyamori. Do not tread on the grass where fireflies glowed last night. The second haiku is very famous. O snail, O snail, climb Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is the sacred mountain of Japan, as we know. O snail, climb Mount Fuji, but slowly, slowly. Translated by a very famous old English poet, R.H. Blyth. He has written a lot of volumes about haiku. This is one of the very famous haiku. Then there's Maso Akashiki. He was the one who gave the word haiku. He coined the word haiku. He was a reformer who modernized haiku and emphasized more of realism. A carp leaps up. A carp leaps up, crinkling the autumn moonlight. Translated by Burton Watson. A carp leaps up, crinkling the autumn moonlight. I'm trying to sleep. I'm trying to sleep. Please swat the flies lightly. I'm trying to sleep. Please swat the flies lightly. Translated by Michael R. Birch. I hope you're enjoying these small one-breath poems.
Very much, very much. Thank you.
So now let's see some examples of modern English language haiku. Now these are English poets. Not seeing the room is white, Anita Virgil. Not seeing the room is white until that red apple. Not seeing the room is white until that red apple. Another very famous haiku. That sudden realization that the walls are white, and she sees a red apple on the table, and then suddenly the realization that the room is white. Summer night, we turn off the light to hear the rain. Summer night, we turn off the light to hear the rain. So she turns off the light to hear the rain. So you see, there's a sense. Now, in haiku, there is a word, we also, in literature, this word synesthesia is also used, where there is sense switching. Sometimes you can smell some color, right? Or you can see somebody's touch, so that you can sense switch it. That also is there. So here she says, we turn off the light to hear the rain. Spring, this is written by Peggy Willis Lyles. She's also a very famous haiku poet. Spring, there is this contest which happens, sharpening the green pencil contest. And in this haiku had one, spring, the child sharpens the green pencil. Now the green and the spring has been linked. Spring, the child sharpens the green pencil. So I will, just next slide, I will share some of my haiku. Apple picking, a child's laughter scents the air. So here you see that the laughter scents the air. And apple picking is the scent of apple is there. The child is picking apples, but what scents the air is the child's laughter. So this one, an honorable mention in the monthly Kokai of the Haiku Foundation. Now the Haiku Foundation is like the Mecca of haiku poets. So it's a US-based organization. And they hold these monthly Kukai. Kukai is a contest which is done every month, and they give a theme. And here the theme was apple. And apple picking, a child's laughter scents the air. Then this one won the Vancouver Cherry Blossom Contest, the Sakura Award. Cherry blossoms, a war refugee empties his pockets. Cherry blossoms, a war refugee empties his pockets. In fact, today, Manjuji, there's a column called Haiku Commentary, and the editor, Nicholas Klakzansky, has given a commentary on this Sakura Award-winning haiku. And he has given a very beautiful interpretation and analysis of this haiku.
So, wow, it can really be interpreted in many different ways.
Yes, that is what he has written, that it can be interpreted in many different ways. Yes. And I have posted it on Facebook. I normally do share my published haiku on Facebook, Twitter, and Insta. So it's also shared there. I also write a blog called Whispers of the Soul. There too, I share this. So tips for refining haiku. Avoid over-explaining. Let images speak for themselves. Use present tense, active verbs, and precise nouns. Focus on a single moment or feeling. And then, of course, edit or revise for clarity and musicality. It's very important. Next slide, please. So if somebody wants to know more about Japanese poetic forms, like I said, we are waking up to this art form in a big way. There is an online multimedia portal called Rivers. Now, they had asked me to write about haiku and all these related Japanese short forms of poetry. So I wrote a column there called Haiku Blossoms. And I wrote in each column, I covered one of these things. So haiku, senryu, tanka, haibun, haiga, renge, cherita, and all these I have covered in these, and these can be read on the rivers.com website. So I would request that you read about haiku, learn more about them, and of course start writing about writing haiku, because it makes one very mindful and very much in tune with the world, our seasons, our nature. It keeps us, grounded to that. Next slide, please. So haiku teaches us to appreciate small moments of beauty. It's not just a poetic form, but a way of seeing the world. Like I always say, it's a path, it's a journey. And so we pen our haiku and we enjoy this process. A beautiful haiku by Isa, "The world of dew is the world of dew. The world of dew is the world of dew. And yet, and yet." And that's how it is. That's what the world is. So this was about haiku. Now I would like to also share, if you want to ask something here, we can do that, or I can just tell you more about senryu and tanka and haibun, the other three forms. What would you suggest, Manjuji?
Yeah, are there more slides coming in?
No, I'll just talk about it.
No,
These
if
are the
there are no more
resources.
slides, we can
These are
stop.
the
We can
resources.
stop sharing.
Yeah, this is the
Okay,
resources, and this
right.
you share it with them that these are the places they can go to. These are the journals which publish. So these are some resources for reading more apart from the rivers one. Yeah.
Right.
So we can stop sharing. Then I can talk about Andrew, and yeah, the thing has come now.
And if people would like to come onto the screen, they can switch on their videos.
Yes.
So there are so many terms that we are not familiar with, all the terms that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about them and how they're different from haiku.
Yeah, senryu. So we talk about senryu. Now, senryu is similar in structure, senryu, senryu. Senryu is similar in structure, but it does not require a season word. So it is more human. There's no season word required, and no seasonal reference is required. It is more, involved with human foibles and humor, satire. It can be satirical. And now what is happening in English language haiku is that many editors are not distinguishing, because the line is gray. They are not distinguishing between haiku and senryu. So they sometimes say you can submit haiku and senryu to us. So I'll just read out some senryu for you. You'll like them, because that contrasting element. Like my son tells me that senryu are more interesting because they touch me. There's a resonance which happens when you read it. Heat wave. In the courtroom, cold faces.
Oh.
Heat wave. In the courtroom, cold faces. Old age home. Old age home. Leaves fall with no noise. Old age home. Leaves fall with no noise. Stars glow in grandson's eyes. Stars glow in grandson's eyes. The blur in mine.
Oh.
The
Are these
blur.
composed by you, Neena?
These are all mine. Yeah, these are all published in various journals and various awards.
Really?
So
Such a
the
treat. Such a treat.
I'm taking out one book. This book of like I said, shared with you, The Whispers of the Soul. This was in 2016 with poems and photos. In 2020, I took out during the COVID time, One Breath Poetry. This was a journal of haiku, senryu, and tanka, One Breath Poetry. Now, this book was written, when this book was written, very few of my haiku were published. So this is, I would say, I was still more of a learner. And now the book which has come, which is coming now, it's come, for me, it's come, the A Peacock's Cry, Seasons of Haiku. Now, what I have done in this is that I have divided the haiku into the seasons, and I have included one more season, which is monsoon, which is very, important for the Indian, Indian seasons, among the Indian seasons. And so I have made it, I have divided my published haiku, and these are all published haiku, which have been included in this book, and this will be available on Amazon too. This is A Peacock's Cry, Seasons of Haiku. And there was this anthology which was published by, edited by Kinfem and Rimi Nath, Late Blooming Cherries. It was published by HarperCollins. It was published by HarperCollins, Late Blooming Cherries. And in this, these two editors have included Indian poets, and I was fortunate to be included in this. And so they have given my 12 haiku here. 12 haiku and my bio, they have included in this. So this is also a very beautiful book which has come out this in 2024, where Indian poets have been showcased. And one of the haiku which I must send you, which I wanted to read to you, which won the which was the shortlisted touchstone. Now the shortlisted touchstone, just to tell you the gray area, shortlisted for Touchstone Award by the Haiku Foundation is this haiku, which there is a debate whether it is a haiku or a senryu. Childhood memories. Childhood memories. I open and close the wrought iron gate. Childhood memories. I open and close the wrought iron gate. Now, there are many interpretations of this haiku, and the people who wrote about it and said that it should, because coming in the short list itself is because there's a long list and then there's a short list and the nomination for that. So it's an honor to be there. Now, I asked a lot of people, is this a haiku? And there are divided opinions. Alan Summers, who's a very famous haiku poet, and he has been he's a founder of Call of the Page and runs, he was in the British Haiku Society chairman. He says that it is a haiku. And I asked Dr. Pravat Kumar Padi, an Indian poet here, who is my mentor. He said, no, it's a senryu. So I have included this in my senryu book, which will come now, because I still think that it is a senryu because there is no season word in it, in my opinion.
Right.
Although there is
Seems like a senryu.
Sounds like a senryu. Yes, that is what I said. So last train home. Last train home, the fishmonger's basket filled with potatoes. This was also, published. These are all published. Summer dusk. Summer dusk. The old woman gathers her unsold corn. This is a common scene in India, right?
Yes.
But because it is summer dusk and there's an old woman, so there's something behind it which touches you. All right, you can see that. Sudden rain. I pick magnolia blossoms. Sudden rain. I pick magnolia blossoms from Buddha's lap. So these are I'll now tell you about tanka. This was senryu. Now tanka, what is tanka? Tanka is a longer poem. After the 3 lines, there are 2 lines more. So it's a 5-lined poem. Tanka is a longer form than haiku and senryu. Again, it's 5-7-5-7-7 according to Japanese syllables, on sound syllables. 5-7-5-7-7. Last 2 lines are 7-7 syllables. And this 31, that was a 17-syllable poem. This is a 31-syllable poem. It has been a popular form of poetry in Japan for the last 1300 years. In fact, the court, ladies of the court and noblemen of the court in Japan, they wrote tanka to each other as a form of love poetry. and the nobler you were, the better your tanka. You were supposed to be of a high noble order if you wrote tanka and responded in tanka. So the first three lines normally capture one idea, one image or idea, and the last two lines bring in a more personal perspective. So it's a lyrical poem, and so it provides room to the poet to share emotions. Here you can share your emotions. So I'll read out some of my published tanka to you. Sunset Point. Sunset Point, we walked together in rain and shine. Sunset Point, we walked together in rain and shine. Now I trace the path from my heart to yours. Now I trace the path from my heart to yours.
Yes.
I'm not telling you the names of the journals because then it would be a very long talk. A cicada sings. A cicada sings. The sorrow, the sorrow buried deep within. Cicada sings the sorrow buried deep within, rising to greet the friend at whose grave I stand. A cicada sings the sorrow buried deep within, rising to greet the friend at whose grave I stand. The thrush sings, the thrush sings, each note a reminder that your heart now soars far from mine, unseen beyond the horizon. The thrush sings, each note a reminder that your heart now soars far from mine, unseen beyond the horizon. So these were the tanka. Now we come to haibun. Now haibun, haibun is, it was also created by Matsuo Basho, who used to write his travel journal, The Narrow Road to the Interior. He wrote it's like a diary. So he wrote prose and then he coupled it with haiku. So that is called a haibun. And if it is coupled with a tanka, then it is called tanka prose. So there is tanka prose, which is coupled with tanka, and there is no limit as to number of haiku or tanka you want to include in your prose. That depends upon you, how long you want to make it, what you want to say. Now, in the haibun, the subject matter, it can be autobiographical prose, it can be a travel journal, a slice of life, memory, dream, short sketch of a person or a place or an event, object. You can write of your life, your love affairs, your illness, your human concerns. You can write about anything, about your experiences. And it's normally written in the first person, and everything is seen through the author's, poet's eyes. It's called a poem, and the consistency is, it's often in the prose is interrupted by the haiku, either interspersed in the beginning, in the end, or in the middle. It uses sensory images. It uses concrete details. There are no extra words, no abstractions. And the focus is on one or two elements. You don't have to write about 10 things in that. Now the language is, it has to suit the subject matter and the mood. The length can be as long or as short as you want it. You can do long haibun, or you can do short. And the prose in the haibun. Now the three components of a haibun are: one is the title, the second is the prose, and the third is the haiku. Now all these three need to be connected in a way, but they don't have to copy the prose. Like the title doesn't have to copy the prose. The haiku doesn't have to copy the prose. It has to link and shift. It has to take you to another level, right? So the haiku should take the story forward. The narrative, that what you have written, it should not just be explaining the narrative. The haiku should not explain the narrative, right? It adds insight or another dimension to the prose. And the tips on writing haibun are that, don't accept the first haiku that comes to you after writing the prose. Find a word or image in the prose to play off. Avoid the linear extension of the haiku. Take some right angle, take a lateral turn. Haiku should link but not repeat what the prose has said. That is very important. And prose is best if kept to a single theme with sensory detail, and haiku crystallizes that experience. Symbolism is used, and in the end, there is a surprise. There's no explanation about it. There's just a surprise. Often the haiku is contained in the last sentence, and it is like waiting to be transformed. So my experience in the world of social work, where I visit my the orphanages, where I visit the old age homes or schools, I have experienced such things there, that they give me the focus or the experience to write something. I will read you something about Haibun, which I would like to. The title is Echoes of Silence. The child lies curled up on the bed in the care home. He opens his mouth as if to speak. His lips contort, the tongue moves, but no words come out. Bending down, I caress his small head. His coal black eyes look at me with an expression I cannot fathom. A faded blue t-shirt with Superman etched on it hangs loosely on his body. I sing to him a Disney song as he closes his eyes. When you wish upon a star. When you wish upon a star. As I walk out of the home to my car, my eyes scan the twilight sky. Autumn chill. Autumn chill. A gust of wind fogs my breath. Autumn chill. A gust of wind fogs my breath. That is the first haibun. Memento mori. That is the second haibun, which I would love to read to you. Memento mori. The black and white photo found in Papa's diary shows an unsmiling child of about 6, a book in her lap. I do not recognize myself in this photo. My childhood memories are gray, though some return through the stories told by family. My mother said I wouldn't eat my meals unless a book was read to me. Who will read you stories when I die? She'd ask. It seems she'd had a premonition. When I was 6, the stories stopped. Reading aloud to my puppy. Reading aloud to my puppy. Winter night. Reading aloud to my puppy. Winter night. Thank you. So, I think we've covered all these Japanese short forms in brief, whatever brief I could do. I think time is also up.
But all of them are so evocative. They are so moving. They are like pictures that you paint on a small frame, and each picture stands out vividly.
Thank you so
I
much.
request the participants to switch on their videos and enter the discussion.
I think they are trying to.
Debarati seems to be very impressed. Debarati?
I am. Ma'am, after a very long time, the poems really touched my heart, and it is a kind of peace that I felt when you were reading out the haiku.
Yes.
Mm.
These are
And
called healing poems. You know that? These haiku poems
absolutely,
are called healing poems. They heal.
Healing poems, okay.
they did,
They're
they
called
did.
healing poems. They are Zen poems. For
Mm.
there are people who say that they have Alzheimer's and they have this. There are haiku for them. that they have the haiku which have helped them. So these are very short poems, very succinct, so much of brevity. We try to capture the ephemeral, the transient, and that is the beauty. And they make us so mindful. I'm so glad you enjoyed them, Devarati. Manjuji, of course, I see.
I often say that if there were more people writing poetry and reading literature, we would have less wars, we would have less hatred in the world,
Yes,
and
yes,
it would be a much better place to live in.
I agree. I agree. It would be a better world.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank
I
you so
would
much.
want to become a student of yours, if you
Most
permit.
welcome. Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Write haiku and send me.
Thank you,
Of
ma'am.
course, whatever links I can send you, whatever guidance I can give you. See, I have not learned from my own accord. There have been so many geniuses, so many mentors, so many guides. I'll acknowledge them now in the end that I would not have learned this. I started haiku when I was 60 years old. How would I write haiku? I was a banker. For 30 years, I was a banker. And then I was doing my social work. So I was just writing poems. I mean, like I said, free verse. But this mindfulness, this capturing of the moment, this caught me. I fell in love with it. The moment I started writing and submitting, and the editors of these journals, all these journals' names which are there, the editors are so good. I tell you that they guide so much. They suppose you have to submit, say, 10 poems. They will accept or not accept. If they accept one poem, they will give you feedback about the others. If they don't accept, even then sometimes there are certain editors so empathetic, so good, such good guides. They will give you your feedback that you could do this and this would come like this. And sometimes that feedback has helped, and that haiku has got published in another journal. So, so I always say that these guides and mentors are very important. Kala Ramesh, who runs Triveni Haikai India, do visit the Triveni Haikai India website. Kala Ramesh she's a trailblazer of haiku in India. Kala Ramesh, I think we would have one session with her sometime. She's too good. I had called her to Chandigarh and we did a lot of, her sessions here. She has interspersed dance and haiku. She brought a dancer with her and, Bharatnatyam, and we did that dance. I had this haiku, rain bath, shedding the dust, a peacock's cry. And there was this Bharatnatyam dancer who danced to that haiku and people had to guess what is the haiku. So, there's so many things which are happening, so many experimentation. Pravat Padhi, who's developed a new thing called Hainka. So, there are, mentors and friends like Arvinder, Vandana Prashar, Ravi Kiran, Alan Summers, Teji Sethi, all of them. My horizon of friends has widened so much with haiku. All the Facebook friends, it's fascinating. It's beautiful. Sangeeta.
We have this youngster here, Ishtia. Would you like to add something, Ishtia?
Yeah.
Do you write poetry or are you planning to write?
I really enjoyed
After
the
so
session.
much of encouragement.
I don't really write poetry. I wish I could write because otherwise, I mean, it's a very difficult job to write poetry. We are all so much busy with critical stuff and critical writing that we forget how to write poetry, but I really wish to.
But do it as a relaxation, Ishtaq. Do
I
it
could
as a
try.
relaxation.
I mean, I absolutely love Urdu poetry. I love listening to and reading to Urdu poetry and ghazals and
Wonderful.
qawwalis. But yeah,
Wonderful.
I will sometimes I will try. I will give it a try. But thank you so much,
Do
ma'am.
that.
It was a wonderful session, ma'am. Thank you so
I'm
much.
glad.
Very nice.
Because
Thank
it's a new subject for people, and I was a little
you.
apprehensive whether you would really like it or whether you would really enjoy this. Because see, I love it, so I speak from the love of it and the passion of it. But people who have never heard of haiku or never written haiku, I've also learned. I've also learned from these, all these forms. I do haiga, which is a picture or art with a haiku. That is called a haiga. So my haiga is also getting published. Renge, which is, like I said, a collaborative poet. I have written with Billy D of USA, and we've won prizes from the Haiku Society of America in that. So it's a beautiful world, and every day one is learning. I would say that I'm still a learner. I'm learning. Yes.
And there's the Dr. Jyoti Mishra from Chhattisgarh who sent a compliment, very soothing and relatable. Thank you, Neena ma'am. So she sent it to me, but I'm reading it out to you. Roshan was on the screen. Roshan, if you're still there, would you like to say something? And Himraj is here. Himraj, would you like to add something? You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much,
Roshan,
ma'am.
because uh-huh.
Yes, ma'am.
कुछ
Can you hear
अच्छा
me?
भी लगा? Did you like it? Did you
Hello, ma'am.
understand something of it?
Himraj?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yeah,
Yes, you're audible. You're audible. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am. It was really a good, I would say, wonderful session this evening. And the poems actually, which are about natures, they really convey a lot in 3 lines as such. So this is something which I haven't read much, but then going through this presentation today, it really made me
Mhm.
interesting in exploring the field further, this genre further.
Wonderful.
Ma'am, actually, there has been this traditional emphasis on nature imagery in haiku.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Somewhere, what I would want to know is that, well, has it really also been limiting in, I mean, limiting the versatility of the form as well?
No, no.
Because,
See, sir, there are what you are saying. I understand where you are coming from. There are certain poets who say that why should we use so many? Why should we use these season words? We can just write like that would be senryu. We can
Mhm.
write, but see we have to keep in mind that the classical Japanese style of haiku poetry was that you have to have a season word. Now, why a season word? Because it connects us to the word of nature, to seasons. And season word just doesn't mean that we have to write autumn, spring, summer. Like you have so
Mhm.
many season words. If I read out the season words to you from the Saijiki, you will be
Mhm.
amazed. You will be amazed. Now,
uh,
if butterfly is a season word for spring, right? Or a stalk is a season word for summer. So there would be animals, there would be plants, there would be landscape, there would be, sky and elements. So it's
ma'am,
just not limiting. It's only it expands your it expands your haiku. It brings
ma'am,
you to that point of time which you are talking about.
that's really fine, ma'am. A very good explanation. I just wanted to know, ma'am, when it comes to haiku, because this is something which the poems that you were citing from, they were from 17th, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken,
yeah.
18th and then 19th centuries.
Huh.
I just wanted to know, does this freedom lie with the modern day writers as well? That, well, you can move away from nature too, or is it something that
No, we are writing. So we are
remain
writing.
stuck to?
We are writing these poems. I
Uh,
had read out certain poems also. You see, there is a word for this called muko. There is in the Japanese side, some Japanese saijiki, they have this classification called muko poems, which means that they are seasonless. They say that these will be seasonless. But the tradition of haiku poetry is that there has to be a season. If you write something without a season, just on human nature, then it becomes a senryu.
Mhm.
Ma'am,
If you read that the column which I was telling I have written for Rivers, rivers.com, RHYVERS, I have given it in the presentation also. There is a whole column on Senryu. You will understand when you read that these things are there, that people do write, and they're writing a lot of Senryu nowadays. They're writing in one line also. They're writing in one word also. There is one word haiku called tundra. Now you tell me, tundra, that is one word haiku. So there are a lot of experimentation happening in 2 lines, in 1 line. If I was to tell you about some of my season haiku, uh, I'll just tell you a season haiku. Now, this is Black Swan. Black Swan, the time spent on grooming. Now, would you say that this is a haiku or is it a senri?
not haiku, ma'am,
What
because
do you
what,
think?
what I felt is that
Swan would be nature, right?
it is
Swan would be part of
Yeah,
nature.
it's
yeah, it
winter.
is part of
It's
nature. Yeah.
winter. It's winter haiku. So, so it expands. It expands your knowledge and gives you more to work on. If I say paddy field against bent silhouettes, a lone egret. Now, would this be a haiku or a senryu?
Now, ma'am, it becomes difficult to actually differentiate between
Yeah.
at this stage.
Now, paddy field जो होती है ना,
Yeah,
rice field,
yes,
वो
ma'am. That,
normally autumn में आती है. Autumn. So it comes in autumn. So there's a lot of learning which happens when you do, और हमें भी सीखना पड़ता है. We have to
Right,
also
right.
learn, and we make mistakes also. It's not that we are faultless. We also make mistakes. And the good haiku poets, they say that don't use two Kigo words in one haiku. But then there are examples where two Kigo words have also been used.
Yes,
So
yes,
there
true.
are, like they say that exceptions prove the rule.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Happens, but then it's a journey, like I said. Enjoy the journey. Just enjoy the journey. Kuch padho, kuch likho, and then you'll really enjoy it.
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
I have a question. Sorry, Hemraj.
Nahin,
Uh,
bolo.
Please
I
go
had
ahead.
a question which just came to my mind. You have talked about the monsoon haiku.
Yes,
I mean, you have,
yes. Yeah.
yes. So,
Is because
how
of
was
my
it
love.
received?
That is because of my love for Tagore.
How
Also
was it
because I love
received?
the
The
monsoon.
idea of the monsoon coming in,
Yeah. I didn't get you.
was it accepted? The idea of the monsoon which was brought
Yes.
into.
Of course.
Okay, okay.
In fact, I asked one of the well-known poets to write about some what you write that some testimonials and all are given. The foreword is given in the book. So I had asked Alan Summers, who was the head of the British Haiku Society, to write the foreword of this book, and he's written, and Kala Ramesh has given a very beautiful testimonial, which I have included in this. Pravat Kumar Padi has written on Kigo. I wanted him to write an essay on Kigo, which is the soul and splendor of haiku. This is Hemraj. I'm addressing this also to Hemraj. He says that Kigo words can limit. He says that Kigo words are the soul and splendor of haiku. And he has explained in this essay how they are the season words are the soul and splendor. When you read this, you will really say that yes, Kigo words are important. Now, monsoon, like you said, Debarati, monsoon is, for us in India, monsoon is a very important season, right? We see peacocks, so I have written about peacocks because when I go for my morning walks, all I hear is peacocks. Nowadays also I'm hearing a lot of peacocks. So pale dawn, cries of peacocks unfurl the sky. A peacock's cry, sunlight sprouts through pink leaves. Morning rain, driveway overflows with the scent of laburnum. Twilight rain, the bright side of memories. See, I have made a peacock. I have asked one of my haiku friends to draw this. This is Gond art. So she has drawn, I asked her to draw some animal for each season. So she's drawn a peacock for monsoon. This is Gond art. So it's just rain again.
Very
Rain
refreshing.
again.
It's been a very refreshing session, Neena, and we are all really grateful. See, what happens is that when we read literature, when we study literature, when we teach literature, then we are dealing with other forms of poetry like the sonnet or the epic or the elegy, the ode, and so on. And
True.
these smaller forms, I would call them exotic forms, they get overlooked. And this is so refreshing, talking about them, how you can see in little nuggets, you can see the same beauty, you can see nature, which is, stretched from end to end maybe in an epic or in a longer poem. You see it compressed like a diamond in the poems that you read. So on behalf of all the people who are logged in, on behalf of Mellow, I would like to propose a formal vote of thanks to Neena. And I hope some of us will start writing short poems. If you can't do a haiku or a or send you. Never mind, start with short poems and you'll get there ultimately. And of course, this particular session will be uploaded on social media and you can follow it and see it again. So thank you very much, Neena. Would you like to say anything before we
I
close?
think I've expressed my gratitude to you and to all those who are here today, the learned members of MELOW. I'm grateful to Manjuji for inviting me to be with you today because I always love to share my love of haiku. I don't claim to be an expert. I say that I'm a learner and I'm enjoying this journey. And so I would just say that read haiku and try to write haiku. If you want some guidance, some help, if I can be of any use, I'm there. My email ID, Manjuji has, she can share with you. And I will help. I have been guided by people. I must pay back. Yeah. So thank you once again. It's been an enjoyable session. Thank you very much.